today we are here at RDC. My first question for you is, what does RDC stand for?
Oh yeah, so originally when Olivier started it, it's French for ground floor, so rez-de-chaussée, but we just unofficially changed it the other day to Rainbow Disco Club.
Oh, cool.
It seemed a bit more fun.
That's fantastic.
So that's what it stands for now.
Who are you and where are we? Physically, where are we? What's the address here?
I'm Tess, and we're number 346 George Street, just down the alleyway between Kiki Beware and Hello World.
There you go. You
in
know
a car
where to
park.
find it now. There's no excuses. So how long have you been here?
3.5 years, yeah. And I've been running it for 6 months now.
So you've taken the business on yourself?
Yeah.
How's that been for you?
It's awful.
Yeah. It's a different thing altogether, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I really like it actually. I suppose financial stresses that I've never experienced in my life before, but now I'm getting used to that.
Is it your first business?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's
I know
right.
cafes well, but I don't know much about kitchens, and I know nothing about accounting, so all that is completely new.
It's a learning curve, to be sure. Mm-hmm. You've been here 3.5 years. Dunedin's full of cafes and different types of coffee too. I mean, you know, my job is I go around and I review cafes and restaurants, and you wouldn't credit how much difference there is from one place to another. What makes RDC different from other cafes, and how does the coffee differ? Because I know you are a real coffee aficionado, you love your coffee.
Oh, how does it differ? Well, it's actually what I consider to be just a really high quality version of a quite classic New Zealand medium roast. So I think how it differs is just how consistently well it's roasted. It's a 4-bean blend that was chosen by Wendy Jepson, who owned Wobbly Goat in this cafe before me, and who roasts under the name Fat Cat Coffee. And she struck upon a really well balanced coffee that's both sweet with a little bit of the dry cocoa, which is really pleasant as soon as you put milk with it. Really well rounded, good amount of acidity. It doesn't shock any New Zealanders, but people always come back for it again because it's just good. It's a good version of what it is. And I've got a lot of experience with the sort of, more recent third wave Scandinavian style light roasted coffees, which are becoming more and more popular in New Zealand and slowly more and more popular in Dunedin. But most people, I think, want something that they recognise as coffee, which you don't really get with the light roasted filter. It tastes more like tea than coffee, and that's why they come back. Yeah, because it's something they know, but it's an exceptionally good version of it.
That is without a doubt the best description of coffee that I've had yet.
Really?
Yeah, well done.
I love all kinds of coffee.
There's an ever-increasing line of people going in the shop, so we're going to cut now and we're going to let Tess go and do some business, and we'll come back in a second. So Tess, can we continue the conversation about your love of coffee, because we do wine and beer reviews as well, and the palate is probably one of our most underestimated senses. We'll obviously think about things that we see and hear and so on and feel, but the palate is a whole other thing. You're clearly tuned into how that coffee tastes. Tell me, what sort of coffee do you prefer, and is the coffee that you're serving here coffee that you prefer, or do you like something different?
I love the coffee that we serve here when it comes to espresso based coffee, but my absolute favourite coffee is the filter roast coffee, which is like a soft brew method, so it doesn't use any pressure at all. And I learnt a lot about that when I was working in a roastery over in Berlin for a few years, and I love everything about it. I love the colour of the beans. I love the story of, because they're often really specific micro-lot grown coffees that come from a farmer that you support over a long amount of time, so you know them well by name. It gets really exciting when the new season of coffee comes in from them and you can compare it to the year before. I love the process of making it. It's very gentle. So we started off in this place that I was working at in Berlin just making V60, which is like a brand name of a filter, and you gently pour the coffee over for a couple of minutes, and I know you don't usually think of coffee as being calming, but it's a really calming process. And then the first time I think I really enjoyed coffee was when we had this coffee from Sao Paulo in Brazil. Can't remember the acronym of the collection of farms that it came from is FAF, but I can't remember what that stands for. But it was an Obata bean, which is, I don't know, it's quite an unusual bean, it's quite large. It's Arabica, but it's also got some genes of the Robusta bean, which have been like sort of genetically engineered, which you don't really meant to tell anybody because Robusta's got such a bad name these days. Everyone wants Arabica. But this coffee, we had it over the Christmas time over there, so it was winter, and it tasted like pure Turkish delight, like the most incredible thing I've ever tasted in a hot beverage. It was amazing, and that's all natural. That's just really good quality beans to start with, taking really good care of the coffee plant, fantastically clean processing, so you know, not letting any mold getting into the coffee as it's drying on the beds, and then really, you know, intelligent roasting and knowing exactly what you're doing, and obviously the barista at the other end making the coffee well. So when you get all of those things lined up and done with a lot of care, like I remember, the first time I tried that coffee, you know, so much joy, you get tears in your eyes. It was beautiful, and I will never forget that. And so I've been chasing that for, I don't know, gosh, that would have been 2012, so 7 years. And we've just introduced here the Mocha Master, which is like a really easy way for me to be making filter coffee without having to employ a whole nother person to physically make it. And I just seek out roasteries around Dunedin and also around New Zealand that are doing interesting things in the same manner of what we were doing in Berlin. So for instance, this last weekend I was up in Auckland going and checking out roasteries, and I got one from 830 Espresso, which is a Colombian coffee, which at the moment the new Colombians are in, and they're phenomenal. It's like the best Colombian coffee I've ever had in my entire life. Really sweet, really clean. Colombians can be not that clean sometimes, but yeah, so we've got that at the moment on the Mocha Master. So I really enjoy the espresso that I make. I enjoy that the customers enjoy it, but I also get to have this little side project, which is, you know, what I'm particularly interested in. And I try and get people involved as much as possible. Some people love it, some people hate it, but that's what I like.
Where do you draw the line with hybridising coffee?
I mean, I would, I don't know. I don't question milk. I don't even, well, we don't have coconut milk here. I don't know, dude. Sugar's okay.
You're a purist.
Well, yeah, because I've had coffee that tastes so sublime just on its own. Like, just the coffee, no adulteration whatsoever. I know the potential of that plant and what you can, like, how much joy you can get from the flavour. That for the espresso-based coffee, I'm like you. Like, I like having milk in my coffee in the morning because it's like one of the first things that I put into my body. So porridge and coffee with milk. But if I was drinking coffee just to drink coffee to enjoy coffee, it would most certainly always be black.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And that would be for the experience of, you know, what that has to offer, which is huge. It's like coffee's as exciting as wine, I reckon. Have you ever tried a geisha coffee before from Panama?
No.
Oh, so it's another large bean, you know, light roasted for best effect. They sell it in at auction in very small batches, so it's quite hard to get your hands on. And it was originally a plant that failed to make any kind of good tasting coffee in Africa, but they took it to Panama because it provided shade. But it just so happened that the altitude or the soil was right over there, that all of a sudden it started producing like this world-class coffee, which is now, you know, some of the most expensive and highly sought after coffee you can get. It's called geisha, and it is like so delicate, like elderflower, and so sweet and amazing. I have to go back to it.
Yep. I'll get it. Yep. Where you go? Yep. So there you have it. Tess is off, serving more coffee to the good folk of Dunedin. And we'll get this up as soon as we can. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Tess. If you want to go and have a cup of coffee with somebody that knows what they're talking about, this is a place to come. RDC Cafe, George Street.